If you're using social media to grow your business and you're not getting clients from DMs, then you're leaving a lot of money on the table. Today, I'm going to show you my DM system that I use to help me get new clients. It's super simple and you'll be able to take what I give you and essentially implement it into your business ASAP. So, quick background about me. I run a social media and outreach agency. I've worked with over 20 clients across different industries on helping them grow their business with social media, specifically LinkedIn. But what I'm about to tell you works for most social media platforms. The clients that I've worked with have been in different industries like SEO, health coaching, business coaching, tech startups, software agencies, and for every single one, DM outreach has been a consistent source of new leads and new customers. So what I'm about to tell you and give you, if you do everything correctly, then I guarantee that you'll be able to get some new customers from it. And DM outreach is also the way that I've scaled two of my own businesses via LinkedIn. So what makes DM outreach so great compared to some of the other methods like SEO or cold email or content or paid ads? The top reason is that it is so much easier to do versus those other things. So if you compare to something like SEO, you need a lot of knowledge like how do you build backlinks, how do you build domain authority, how do you get the right keyword. Compared to something like cold email, you need to buy a bunch of email inboxes. If you're doing cold email, you need to set up the right infrastructure, you need to buy the right tool, you need to warm up your email inboxes to make sure you're not landing in the spam folder, and there's a lot of time and energy that needs to be spent on setting all that up. Compare that to DMs. As long as someone follows you or if they're connected with you, then you can DM them, and it's that simple. You're guaranteed to land in the prospects or the person's inbox no matter what. And so there's virtually no setup to it. There's no upfront cost to it. The second reason why I like DM so much is you get a very fast feedback loop. And what I mean by that is you can essentially run a DM campaign for a couple of days. And let's say you do 40 to 50 new messages per day to different people. After about 2 days, you're going to have messaged 100 people, which is a good amount. And just in that time frame, you're going to understand what kinds of messages are getting responses, what kind of prospects are responding to you, what time of day they're responding to you. Basically, you're going to get a lot of information and data on what's working, so that when you go and DM the next set of people on day 3, you'll already know what's been working, and so you can fine-tune your strategy based upon that. Compare that to SEO. SEO takes like months before you start seeing results. Same with content. If you're running content to try and get leads, you might not know what's working for a couple weeks of doing it. And even then, things like the algorithm might change and what you were doing might not work anymore. For DMs, you never tied to any algorithm. You never tied to really any sort of factor that you can't control. As long as you have people that follow you or are connected with you, and as long as you have the skill to DM people and the time to DM people, you're going to be able to get results from that. The third reason why I like DMs is because it's so much easier to build trust with the prospects. Because typically what happens is if you DM somebody, even if they don't respond to you, or even before they respond to you, they're going to click on your profile and look at your work history if it's on LinkedIn, look at your content, and basically put a face to the name. And that is massive in terms of building trust. The reason why I like DM outreach is because when you have a good strategy that's been working and your results are dialed in, your lead pipeline or your lead flow becomes pretty predictable. Let's say you know that your response rate to DMs is like, I don't know, 40%, and half of those book a call with you, and then you can close 25% of those. So you'll know that to get at least one client, you need to send X amount of messages. And for the clients that I've worked with, typically from out of the 100 people that we message, roughly about 40 to 50% reply back. And then out of those people that we DM'd, roughly 10% of people book into a call. So that's 1 out of 10 people. And then 20 to 30% is a close rate. So we know that if we want one client, we're going to have to DM at least 50 people. And so how do you actually cold DM people? And to illustrate this, I have a meme. And essentially, what I've noticed with the prospects that I've talked to and with the clients I've worked with, a lot of them have run DM campaigns before, and they focus on things that don't really move the needle, like the opening sequences to use, or how many follow-ups to do, or what kind of messaging you should be doing, what kind of things you should be pointing out, or like how you should be personalizing it, or if you should be personalizing or automating it. And all of that is fine, but it's not one of the fundamental things that move the needle in terms of how successful a DM campaign is. And from what I've seen from hundreds and hundreds of DM threads that I've reviewed, the main thing that moves the needle in terms of how successful you'll be with the DM campaign or the DM thread is how much trust do you build with the prospect. And so here are the levels of trust that a prospect moves through before they become a client or before they book a call. So at the first level, someone is a cold stranger. The second level is prospect is aware that you exist, but at this point, they don't trust you. All they know is that you exist, you have a business, and they might be aware of what you're selling. At the third level is when they become pain aware. And this is when they fully know what you offer and they are aware of the pain that you solve. They're also aware whether or not they have that pain. The next level after that is they become interested in your solution. So if you have enough trust built from level 3 to level 4, they will become interested in your solution, what you're selling, and you become a potential person to help solve their pain. And the final level is that they fully trust you, they fully trust what you have to offer, and at that point, they're very likely to get on a call with you or at least take the next step into that buyer journey. What most people do is a prospect will be at level 1 or level 2, and they will try and get them on a call with them, and that never works. So this is why most people fail at DMs from what I've seen. And one of the top things is that they pitch a call or like a lead magnet or like a slide deck on the first message when the prospect is still at that level 1 trust gate, or they blast DMs to everybody without really pre-qualifying people. They send messages that are very hard to read and hard to reply to. I'm talking about like paragraphs of messages, and things like that will never get you any solid response rates. And I've talked to prospects and clients as well who've done DM outreach in the past, and they get sucked into buying some AI agents or some tools that help them DM people and essentially automate the entire process. But these tools, they don't pre-qualify, they use templates, they send very generic messages, and their prospects are probably getting like dozens of these per week. And some examples of bad DMs I've gotten, these pretty much meet all the criteria that I laid out. They're very hard to read and respond to, very generic. In some cases, I'm not even the ideal prospect for these people, but I still got this DM. Overall, it's just like, they're pitching on the first call, and that will essentially never work. Even people who are a warm prospect, even if you try to pitch them on the first message or pitch them to a call on the first message, even they will respond negatively to that. So you can imagine for someone who's a cold prospect that will never. Here's an example of how I like to do DMs. And so this is a conversation I have with the prospect. They're in my target customer profile. They're a good fit for what I do and the type of people I work with. They essentially have a pretty good offer, and so I DM'd them, getting some data on how their LinkedIn strategy is going, and they responded with yeah, it's going okay. They're getting a good number of leads, but not a solid number of sales calls. And so that stood out to me because this person has a pretty good offer, and it's an offer that would sell pretty well on LinkedIn. Because it is related to recruiting and hiring, and LinkedIn is a platform for that. So the fact that they were not getting good sales calls, that stood out to me. And so I kind of probed deeper, diagnosing like what the issue was, and they're telling me that they're getting a solid amount of leads, but then those people don't show up to sales calls. And so I looked at their profile and their website and the overall funnel, and gave them some pretty targeted tips on what they can improve. And some of these tips were things that I've done with my past clients, and so it would probably work well for them. But you can see in this exchange that there is practically like no pitching involved here. All I'm doing at this stage is just building trust. It takes a little bit work up front to do it, but once you have enough reps in, this becomes very natural. If this was helpful, give me a follow on LinkedIn. I'm super active on there. And I'm also new to this YouTube thing, so give me a like and leave something in the comments if this helped you, or I'd appreciate any feedback that I got. And keep an eye out for more of these videos. See ya.